Just before COVID, 1,600 digital lending apps were present. 6 months post the lockdown, that number had gone down to about like 80, right? So that was the kind of a cleanup that an event can do.
I think in India, for all of us as ecosystem, as entrepreneurs, as people, we are very wired to look at what is wrong. जो गलत हो रहा है, क्या गलत हो रहा है, कहाँ फट रहा है, क्या हो रहा है. But I think we are not very true and genuine and generous when it comes to seeing what is right.
So I went through multiple rejections, about like 50 rejections, because of one sheer reasons that I am an engineer by background and I'm trying to do a finance business. I used to come here in Mumbai and then try to pitch. Everywhere I got only one gyan. You will just blow up the money and then go away. You don't know anything about credit. You don't know anything about banking. So that was a mundane answers what I used to get.
So right now, I just got a message from Finance Minister's office, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman, and she just did a meeting with startups. And were you there? Were you part of this?
No, my team.
Yeah, so fintech startup, she's meeting to look at what do the startups in the fintech space, what are they looking at? And because, there's so many regulations in last 2 weeks, not 2 weeks, last 1 month, we've heard so many different things. But very quickly, I'm jumping to your story. And to everyone in this room, how many of you have heard of Credit B? Very good. So that means many of you have also not heard of Credit B. Now, when we hear about, all these big companies, this is a story I want each one of you today to go back with and share and tell everyone. Because this is actually a fintech company which is profitable, which serves middle India, which is the 400 million customers, gives credit to people who are traditionally not considered credit worthy or, are not credit worthy, but do not necessarily, a large part of it, have credit scores, and has gone on to, and also going for an IPO sometime soon. So real fundamental business out of Bengaluru, and you are here today. I want to ask you, what does it take to build a profitable, high impact business, and how you've done it?
Sure. So first of all, thanks for getting me into this, and it's one of the most crowded event which I've attended recently. From the entrance of the hotel to reach here, it took me 10 minutes. I mean, it is not that I was not guided, but the crowd is so much that I had to really navigate and come here. So great event.
Thank you.
So now coming to of course our fintech, especially the lending industry, has been quite dynamic, right? So we are always in news, many a times for good reasons and some other times for not so good reasons, right? So in that ways, the profitability, let me put it this way, right? So today, if there are 10 top lending companies, digital lending companies, I think 6 of them are profitable, and 2 of them, or 6 of the top 10 are profitable. 2 of them are nearing profitability. This is one industry where lending is not a new thing in India. So probably lending is happening for like thousands of years. I think the reason why so many banks have come out and there are so many banks which are successful is because you are bound to make money in this business. I think that's a very proven business as lending as such. What does digital lenders do is basically we found a way of distribution or acquiring customers through the digital online way, right? So I think that's the only difference. At certain level, if certain lending companies are not able to make profit, for example, like let's say one builds a AUM of 100 crores, or maybe it is a 500 crore kind of an AUM, or somebody is disbursing about loans worth of 100 crores or 200 crores, whatsoever that number is, at certain point of time, this business is bound to make money. If it is not, then somebody has to go back and then work on their, so the drawing board again and look at what fundamentally they are doing wrong, because fundamentally this business has to make money. Now the difference is, what is the difference is that everyone makes money in the good cycles, what we call it, right? So when the economy is great, the job losses are low, people are working, so people are happy, so the lending also works better. So I think it is more about the testing during the cycles. Second is the stress testing, what we do it.
I know that you have survived the cycles.
Oh yeah. I mean, just to give you an idea about what does that survivability mean, just before COVID, we used to track this Google Play Store to look at how many lending apps are there. So we were one among the top lenders, but we were also looking at the competition. That was about 1,600 apps, right? So 1,600 digital lending apps were present. 6 months post the lockdown, that number had gone down to about like 80, right? So that was the kind of a cleanup that an event can do for a lending companies.
Yeah.
And before that, if you look at in 2019, most of those companies were making money. And that's why there were so many companies or so many apps that were there on the app stores. So it's all about the resilience during those cycles. And then these cycles are bound to happen, So in the good times, I think everyone will make money, but in the cycles, more than half of the industry wipes out. And that's the hard truth of lending. And one should build a lot of resilience during these good times to survive on those bad cycles is what makes the company survive and then come out in a good way. Fortunately, we have gone through many cycles, be this Ireland FS was earlier. Demonetization, when it happened, we were still a very, very small company. So I wouldn't consider it as a cycle that affected us. But let's say this COVID, and then there was some of the regulatory guidelines that came in, which could be like the digital lending guidelines or, so all these stuffs has impacted many companies. Yeah.
But Madhu, I want to call this out. And I think in India, for all of us as ecosystem, as entrepreneurs, as people, we are very wired to look at what is wrong. जो गलत हो रहा है, क्या गलत हो रहा है, कहाँ फट रहा है, क्या हो रहा है. But I think we are not very true and genuine and generous when it comes to seeing what is right. I think in fintech, credit B is right. How you have built since 2016, I think you started, right? You built it in the right way, and you built it you built a very solid business. And to me, this is a reference when we talk about fintech. Because of course I'm not calling it out, but there are 2-3 companies that we talk about when we talk about fintech in India. But I think Credit B has a very, very solid story, and that needs to be called out. Brings me to the question that the sliver of market that you went after is, मतलब हम India तो बहुत सारी India है, but Middle India. So please talk to us about Middle India, because I think that can benefit a lot of entrepreneurs, because still it's a mysterious India, or whether this India pays Middle India.
Sure. I think this is interesting in, what is the differentiation that happened, or what is the differentiation that we could create in the market. The first thing is our customer segment. I mean, just to give a color of it. So they are basically the Middle India, or the Middle India, what we call it. They are the Middle India, mid-income, middle-class segment is what we serve for. More than 77% of our customers are from non-metro cities. They are working in the SME sectors, or you should imagine the people who are running shops, right? So they are running these bakeries or any of these roadside bakeries, kirana dukans. So that is the segment what we are running. Now, what is the differentiation here, right? So the banks today, especially the private banks and everything, are built and competing heavily for the top 3% of the Indian population. And most of this population is residing in the metros and the tier 1 of the cities. Today probably we get about 100 calls by credit card companies to take a credit card or to take a loan and whatnot. But once you go to a tier 2 cities, I think either most of us are from such cities, or probably our relatives are there, we can connect there. In those cities, what is find is one PSU bank, especially there were earlier many PSU banks, but now it's only the SBI Bank branch. That is what is available. And you have to go there with your passbook to get the entries done and everything. And even the ATMs, if you look at it, they are just there at the branch, right? But if you look at the population today, the young population today, they are doing UPI payments, so they don't want to deal with the cash. Now they want to use banking apps, right? And on the similar side, on the credit, they want a lot of convenience. They want to use their mobiles to operate and do the transaction digitally, right? So that is how the market has kind of changing. And since there is no distribution of many of these private banks or the other banking infrastructure which is available, digital is the only way what we capitalize. And today we serve about, so monthly probably there's 8 lakh different individuals who take a loan from us, right? So from this particular segment.
How many people would have taken loan from you so far?
Till date, it's about 1.1 crore people.
Wow.
Right. So,
wow.
And the other factor is it's almost about close to about like 11 crore people have downloaded our app. and this is all from that middle India. That's almost about like 6-7% of the Indian population, and especially from that middle India. So what we are serving today is still from the 4% of that India till about 20th percentage of the India. The unserved market is still very large. So there is the 20th to 50th percentage, which is eligible to be having a credit. I think that market is still very large. So the opportunity itself in India is very, very big. Yeah.
And Madhu, I have to say that, sitting here now, at least we all have become, wherever we would have come from, we've become very digitized and modernized and use UPI. But the fact remains that for the large percentage of Indians, it is still very difficult to access capital, and you're making that happen.
So again, so the real joy comes in wherein, for example, like this is all the middle class people, right? So for them, the idea of getting money was only to borrow from friends and family. That's a major status quo issue. So every month when I'm in need of money, I ask my neighbor or I ask my colleague. Now it becomes a repetition. Then that is where the real self-ego starts hurting, right? So, or they had the other option of going to the money lenders. And money lenders had a very, very tedious way of, structuring these loans and whatnot. And that's where they didn't have an option, right, to get this. And trying to make it more formal and providing the credit to such particular population has really made them to use this as the first choice compared to whatever the other avenues that they had, right? So that is one part. The second part is a lot of, I think, in this entire journey, more than 15 lakh customers who came to us as new to credit today have a bureau score where they have become a customer for a bank to go for their ultimate house loan, right? The ultimate goal of middle class in India is to finally end up with one house, right? And that journey happens only when they build this credit history, right? And to build that, there should be some first formal lender who has to take that call and start building the credit history and then rewarding the discipline in which they are paying. And we have been that part of their journeys. And that's where we see a lot of customer loyalty and then stickiness towards our platform. I mean, 5 years back, whomever we had acquired as customers, almost about like 30% still take a loan from us is a big validation of that.
Yes. 1.1 crore Indians, it's a phenomenal number. And that is why I have such a respect for entrepreneurs like you, because, you build the story, the real, genuine story. And tell me, what are some of the new things? Like lending, maybe to bahut tarah ke lending hote hain, gold lending hota hai, I don't know what all, real estate lending, I don't know. What are the different types of lending? Because this category, I'm assuming, would not have collaterals also to give.
Lending is a very, very regulated and a structured institutes in India, right? So the innovations are very much particular to whatever is defined in the regulations, right? So somewhere today, probably the way the regulator is looking at is that already there is a good pace of growth what the digital lenders have taken, and there is a lot of noise about unsecured lending growing at a certain large pace and everything, right? So therefore, if I understand the view, the way they look at is that they want to kind of stabilize the growth, give out a time for about like 3-5 years to see if there is any kind of a systemic risk because of such a sudden spurt of this digital lending, right? So in that way, coming to your question, I think there is a limited set of loan products, very, very structured is what probably we want to do it, and then or the industry is expecting us to do it. I think certain innovations, what we have seen in the market, has been certain issues what they have found and everything. So at least at our stage, I think we are limiting ourselves to business loan, personal loan, and loan against property. That's where our focus is today. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 very quick questions. You know how I enjoy talking to you because there's so much to learn. But 2 questions very quickly. क्योंकि मुंबई में है, एक trivial question पूछूंगी. Credit भी नाम है, but it is KREDIT. Is it like Karan Johar phenomenon because he has K? So how come it's not credit B but credit B?
नहीं, उस टाइम पे पैसा नहीं था डोमेन के लिए, right? So with K it was available at a 1/10 of the price or 1/20th of the price with C, right? Or so that's the simple answer. Otherwise that has carried on for us, but
there's no good luck and all that because you
has turned out to be with a good luck. That's why we have been enough survive all these things and grow on. But this time this was the only decision, right? So there is what is the money you can allocate to buy a domain. I think K was much cheaper.
Okay, good. Okay, fine. Now that's a very honest answer, which we all relate to, understand. When are you looking at going for an IPO? Because we need strong fintech stories to be growing more in India today.
No, I think IPO is a journey. What it's a holy grail for most of the startups. The way we have grown, I mean, that creates an exit path for most of our investors and for the founders, and makes it much more regulated in terms of your reporting and everything. So I think we are in that path, but not very soon. I don't know. There is certain media hype about like whether we are IPOing probably this year or next year. I think there's a profitability what we have been displaying for a few years. I think everyone has interpreted as that this is a hop to the IPO. But definitely we have this as a strong thoughts. But timeline wise, we are still kind of looking at what should be the ideal year to kind of put ourselves in the IPO roadmap. But as of now, no specific timeline.
You know, you're
we
also
have in mind.
becoming very smart, media savvy entrepreneur. Your answers are getting better. But last, before I let you go, so, you know, I've had the privilege of interacting with Madhu a couple of times. One of the things that stayed with me, and I want you to tell this audience, everyone, is that when you went for fundraising, the number of rejections that you have got. So just quickly tell us before you go.
We were three co-founders together, and two of them, the other two co-founders, I knew them very well. So their idea was like, who is the CEO? Somehow I was able to convince them that I am the CEO of the company. Their only request was, you don't sit here and then manage us. Your only role as a CEO is to go and raise a funding, right? So other than that, don't sit and manage two of us in front of you and then take an excellent trackers, right? So in that ways, what I designed for myself is at least do about 5 meetings a day. So this is how I wanted to cover the spectrum of investors so that I can pitch. So that 5 meetings were happening, but a lot of rejections. So I went through multiple rejections, about like 50 rejections, because of one sheer reasons that I am an engineer by background and I'm trying to do a finance business. I used to come here in Mumbai and then try to pitch. Everywhere I got only one gyan. You will just blow up the money and then go away. You don't know anything about credit. You don't know anything about banking. So that was the mundane answers what I used to get, but went on trying one after the other and whatsoever, because otherwise I would get fired from my team. So my team had told that, you have to go and raise funding. That's about it. But having all that hardships, I'll just end up with last 1 minute. Finally, I met this seed investor, right? So, and then I asked him for just about raising $1 million, right? So then he asked me, it was happening in Hong Kong. This guy had a issue in the language, right? So he could not understand the English as what I'm speaking now. So I had a translator as well. So I asked for $1 million. For somehow in the lost in the translation, that guy understood as I'm asking for $1 million for an NBFC company and $1 million for a tech company. And suddenly his answer was, you're looking for 2 million, right? So it was like, after so many rejections in life, suddenly a banda kuch paisa bhi de raha, and then he's saying like 2 million. It was like that ad, right? Do laddu futta hai, matlab dimag mein. So literally it was such. And then I was like, yeah, maybe I'm looking for 2 million. And I ended up raising the same 2 million, right? So that's how the things turned out. Probably once your luck is all in your way, after all this hard work and rejections, the way it turned out was, double whammy.
And today you've raised how much?
I don't know, maybe 350, 400 million is
Wow.
what has happened over the journey with multiple rounds. But again, I'm telling you, the first break is very critical. After that, once the investors come in, they will work with you and then they will push you in that direction and whatnot. But the first break makes a lot of difference to many companies. And probably if there are many bootstrap companies, I really wish you a good luck. It's one thankless job what those founders would be doing in meeting and getting rejected, getting the energy back and still going for another rejection. 90% of the time you would get rejected. So going there is a thankless job. I have gone through that. But I can only wish you good luck so that it happens faster for you guys. Thank you.
Madhu, very, very proud of you. Very proud of Credit T, and we look forward to continued success as you create impact. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.